All right, today we are tackling something big. We're looking at a legendary anime, let's just say, controversial movie, and we're going to explore that super fine line between a good adaptation and an outright betrayal.
So have you ever wondered why some movie adaptations just get it? They capture that magic while others, well, they seem to miss the point entirely. We're going to dive right into that question, using the infamous case of Deathnote and its 2017 Netflix adaptation. We'll explore what went so wrong, what makes the original so darn compelling, and why getting the heart of a story right is everything.
Okay, so let's start with a tale of two lights. Look, when Netflix announced they were doing a live-action Death Note, the hype was absolutely through the roof. But the movie we got, oof, it left a lot of fans feeling like it didn't just change the story, it completely misunderstood its soul. And that colossal misunderstanding, it all started with the main character.
So what exactly did they change in the Netflix film? Well, a lot. The setting got moved from Japan all the way to Seattle. That super complex cat-and-mouse game simplified way down. The focus shifted to, teen romance and action scenes. And maybe worst of all, those huge philosophical questions at the core of the story were pretty much just glossed over. But you know what? Critics and fans all seem to agree on one thing. The single biggest failure, the thing that really broke the whole story, was how they completely reimagined the protagonist. They turned the brilliant, charismatic Light Yagami into the awkward, sullen Light Turner.
And this comparison right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the problem. See, the movie didn't just tweak the character, it completely inverted him. The original Light Yagami was this charismatic genius, popular from a good family. The Netflix version, Light Turner, is a sullen loner, kind of a reluctant hero, motivated by personal revenge. This isn't just a small change, you guys. This is a fundamental betrayal of what makes the story tick.
And that's because the original story's horror wasn't about some obvious monster. It was about the monster hiding inside a charming, popular, brilliant young man. By making the main character this clear-cut outsider, the film completely lost that chilling, uncomfortable truth. See, the real horror of Death Note isn't a monster that looks like a monster. It's the terrifying idea that a mass murderer could be that friendly, smart kid from a good family, the one sitting right next to you in class.
So, that huge character change directly leads us to the second major failure of the adaptation, missing the heart of the story. The movie pretty much ignored the deep philosophical core of Death Note. You have to understand, the original isn't just a supernatural thriller. It's this profound, intense clash of worldviews.
Think about this quote from Light Yagami. You think, I'm evil? I am justice. To really get the original Light, you have to get inside his head. When someone tells him he's evil, he doesn't pause or reflect. Nope, he gets angry. Because in his mind, what he's doing isn't just right, it's rooted in a very specific and, frankly, very dangerous ethical philosophy.
And that philosophy is called utilitarianism. Basically, it's the idea that the best action is whatever maximizes the overall good or happiness for the most people. The ends justify the means. And Light, he is a textbook utilitarian. He genuinely, truly believes that killing thousands of criminals is the right thing to do, because it will lead to a greater good, a world without crime. He's not just getting revenge, he thinks he's building a utopia. And in his mind, that beautiful end result totally justifies the horrific need.
The story is so smart about how it critiques this idea too. Take the apple, for example. It's this recurring symbol representing the forbidden fruit. It's this constant visual reminder of temptation and corruption. It frames the Death Note not as some noble tool for justice, but as this corrupting power that's just feeding Light's massive God complex.
And then you have this quote from Light's own father, who happens to be a police chief. Laws aren't perfect, because humans who created laws aren't perfect. The laws are evidence of the human struggle to be righteous. Wow. I mean, that is the perfect counterargument, isn't it? It's all about championing our flawed, messy, human struggle for justice over the terrifying absolute certainty of one guy's God complex. It's the story's moral anchor, pushing back against everything Light stands for.
All right, so that brings us inside the mind of Kira. Is Light just some misguided idealist who's taken a philosophy too far? Or is there something psychologically much, much darker going on here? This is where things get really fascinating.
So get this. One really detailed analysis actually scored Light Yagami using the hair psychopathy checklist. Now, this is a real-world clinical tool that psychologists use. A score over 30 is generally the indicator for psychopathy. Light's score, 28 out of 40. That is startlingly high. It reveals a really, really disturbing pattern of traits.
And when you actually look at the breakdown of Light Yagami's traits, you see a really clear pattern. A huge, grandiose sense of self? Check. Lack of remorse or guilt? Absolutely. Callous? Total lack of empathy? Yep. Manipulative? To the extreme. And a complete failure to accept responsibility for his actions. It's a profound lack of empathy, no remorse for killing anyone who gets in his way, and this deep-seated belief that he is better than everyone else, a god.
The original anime captures this psychological journey so perfectly with its imagery. In the credits, you see Light surrounded by doves, right? Symbols of peace. But then they transform into crows, a symbol of death. This tells you everything. The story is arguing that he wasn't corrupted by the notebook. No, the notebook just gave him the power to act on the darkness, the ego, the psychopathy that was already there, deep inside him.
Okay, so let's talk about the art of adaptation. We've seen how the Netflix film pretty much failed by ignoring all this complexity, the character, the philosophy, the psychology. So the big question is, has anyone ever gotten it right?
The answer is a resounding yes. The Japanese live-action films, which came out way back in 2006, were critically acclaimed and beloved by fans. They offer a perfect contrast to the 2017 movie. They were a huge hit, proving it can be done.
So, why did the Japanese films work so well? Well, for one, they were actually faithful to the core themes. They kept Light Yagami's character just as he should be, charming on the outside but a chilling sociopath on the inside. They expanded on other roles, respecting the story's intelligence, and they focused on that complex intellectual battle, not just mindless action. Most importantly, they understood that Light's slow, horrifying moral decay was the heart of the story. They just got it.
And this all brings us to the final point, the big question of morality. At the end of the day, the legacy of Deathnote isn't just about a clever plot or a magic notebook. It's about the powerful, uncomfortable moral questions that it forces every single one of us to think about.
Any adaptation of this story has to grapple with its central debate. What is justice really, and who has the right to decide? By turning this story into a simple teen revenge fantasy, the 2017 film didn't just fail to answer that question, it failed to even ask it in the first place.
And that leaves us with the one big question at the very core of Deathnote. Does absolute power corrupt someone, or does it simply reveal who that person truly was all along? The notebook gave Light Yagami the power of a god, no doubt. But did it make him a monster? Or did it just give the monster that was already inside him permission to come out and play? That's the question that makes this so much more than just a story. And it's one that'll stick with you for a long, long time.